So I'm Christina Synowiec. I'm a program director at Results for Development Institute. We are an international development nonprofit based in Washington, D.C. We focus in three main sectors: health, which is our largest, education, and nutrition. But we also have a number of cross-cutting practice areas that are focused on empowering local change agents to basically improve outcomes within those sectors for the poor in particular. And so the work that I focus on specifically is helping to manage, as one of the directors, our evaluation and adaptive learning practice. And so through that work, we're thinking about ways in which we can creatively, nimbly, and practically build the evidence base, both for the evidence base writ large, but also practitioners on the ground using monitoring, evaluation, research, and learning tools. I think how we became involved in the CURVE initiative is through our partnership with USAID. We were funded as the prime on a consortium of organizations to basically pilot rapid feedback mechanisms within the agency. And so we're playing the role that MNC Saatchi is basically playing within the Gates Foundation and working with some of their grantees in trying to figure out if and how rapid feedback mechanisms can actually work in supporting as close to real-time decision-making opportunities for some of the program and investments that USAID is making. Well, so I think I was asked to speak at the second summit about theories of change because there was a lot of interest coming out of the first summit in better understanding the role that theories of change can play in defining a learning agenda and actually being something that could be applied beyond just an M&E reporting document that's submitted to funders or for other basic reporting purposes. And what we've found through our work in the evaluation and adaptive learning practice is that there are a lot of different applications of theories of change, from just pulling together the narrative of how you're actually moving from the activities that you're implementing all the way to the vision, the grand vision that your program is trying to achieve and the change that you're trying to achieve, to actually using it to tease out what are some of the specific areas of uncertainty or assumptions that are in need of validation, and then really honing some of your rapid feedback testing opportunities on those specific causal links within the theory of change. And so the way that we approached the presentation was basically talking through what are the challenges of theories of change. There are many. One is that it's not super clearly defined. There are lots of different visualizations of it. I've actually heard it described to me before as looking like spaghetti on a wall with lots of arrows and boxes. And then people just don't really understand the different ways in which you can apply it in practice. And so then from there, what I tried to do was actually share some concrete examples of how we've partnered with programs on the ground to co-create theories of change, and then to work with them to define a learning agenda out of that, either to conduct, lean experimentation, rapid prototyping opportunities, or something on the more rigorous end of the scale, like a structured experiment or nimble RCT. I would say the first is that there's still a lot of confusion among folks around how to actually identify whether a theory of change is good or bad. And so one of the things that we discussed was an opportunity to actually develop a checklist or a series of criteria to help different stakeholders actually assess a theory of change, and also to guide them in the development process of a theory of change to create a really strong, usable version. I would say that the second big takeaway was the importance of having a co-creation process in developing a theory of change, but also related to that, a lot of confusion and questions about how to best facilitate that process. I think the word co-creation is thrown around a lot, but it's also really hard to think about how to do that practically. And so one thing that we did was to share our organization's experience in really driving and facilitating theory of change workshops on the ground involving all of the key program stakeholders to put them in the driver's seat and actually pushing forward the content development and refinement for a theory of change, but to have us as the outside experts in facilitating that process and identifying what are kind of the main pieces of a theory of change that need to be articulated and how to make sure that we're actually checking the box in terms of developing a strong theory of change. And one of the things that was noted was just how that helps a lot with the buy-in process and the credibility of the theory of change. And then the third thing was actually thinking about how to then use and apply the theory of change. We talked about using it to set the learning agenda. And so looking within the theory of change to find those causal links where there's a little bit more uncertainty and opportunities for testing and building in feedback loops. And so I think that was also a big aha moment for folks, and one where there's a lot more opportunities for exploration.